Hi everyone, in this video we look at another example where we subtract rational expressions. So it says simplify and state restrictions, and we have x minus 4 over x squared minus 121 minus 2x minus 1 all over x squared plus 8x minus 33. So the first thing that we're going to do is factor anything that we can factor. So in the numerator we have x minus 4, which doesn't factor, over x squared minus 121. Now x squared minus 121 is a difference of squares that factors into the conjugate pair, or the conjugate product, x plus 11 times x minus 11 minus 2x minus 1 all over x squared plus 8x minus 33. Here we can factor this trinomial by saying what two numbers multiply to negative 33 and add to positive 8. So we have x plus 11 times x minus 3. Whoops. Times x minus 3. There we go. So now we can look at the denominators of both of these fractions, and we need to find the least common multiple of x plus 11 times x minus 11 and x plus 11 times x minus 3. So basically what we can do is we can say, okay, what factors are missing between, what common factors are missing between these two denominators. And if you look at x plus 11 times x minus 11, there's no factor of x minus 3. So I'm going to multiply both the numerator and denominator by x minus 3. So I have x minus 4 times x minus 3 divided by x plus 11 times x minus 11 times x minus 3. In this same step, we can look at this denominator, and we can see that there's no factor of x minus 11. So in order to have a lowest common denominator, I have to multiply both the numerator and denominator by x minus 11. So I'll have x minus 11 times x plus 11 times x minus 3. And in the numerator, I've multiplied the denominator by x minus 11, so I have to multiply the numerator by x minus 11 as well. So I have x minus 11 times 2x minus 1 in the numerator. Now, in the step above, I should have really written out what the restrictions on x are in case I divide out or simplify my expression to divide out any factors. So the restrictions are x cannot equal to minus 11, plus 3, and positive 11 as well. So that helps to remind me to write out the restrictions at the end as well, so that I don't miss any restrictions. Now we can go ahead and we can simplify or we can go ahead and subtract the x minus 11 times 2x minus 1 from x minus 4 times x minus 3, because we have a common denominator. That is, the denominators are the same. And you might look at this and say, okay, well, x minus 11 times x plus 11 times x minus 3, well, that's written differently than my first fraction, but since multiplication is commutative, order of multiplication doesn't matter. That is, the two denominators are equivalent. So let's go ahead and we'll simplify this. Well, I've got x minus 4 times x minus 3 minus, bracket, x minus 11 times 2x, times 2x minus 1 all over x plus 11 times x minus 11 times x minus 3. Now I can go ahead and I can simplify the numerator and subtract. If I expand x minus 4 times x minus 3, I get x squared minus 7x plus 12 minus bracket 2x squared minus 22x minus x is minus 23x, and then I have plus 11. All divided by these three factors, which are x plus 11 times x minus 11 times x minus 3. Now I can go ahead and use the distributive property to subtract subtract this polynomial or this trinomial. And when I distribute the negative into the brackets, it's just going to flip the sign of all the terms. So I can go ahead and combine some like terms. If I do x squared minus 2x squared, I get negative x squared. Negative 7x plus 23x is going to be positive 16x. And 12 minus 11 is just positive 1. And that's all over x plus 11 times x minus 11 times x minus 3. So I can go ahead and I can leave my my expression like this now that I've subtracted the numerators and I've simplified here. But one of the things that is nice to or one of the things that you can do to write this in a way that's a little bit nicer is to common factor negative 1 out so that we have a positive coefficient beside the quadratic term, or the highest whatever the highest degree term is. So I can write this as minus x squared minus 16x minus 1 over x plus 11 times x minus 11 times x minus 3. And then lastly, I have to write my restrictions, and I don't remember what my restrictions are, but I wrote them up above. So x cannot be equal to negative 11, 3, or 11. And notice that those all those factors still appear in the denominator. Sometimes the factors divide out. You'll divide out a factor when you're simplifying, and that's why I normally write them out before I simplify any of the expressions. So the restrictions are x cannot be equal to negative 11, 3, and 11.